Hey, my IBMOR brothers, back again. I guess I'm gonna try not to be bored and put up a little bit more content. I was looking at Brother Ron Wills' channel, and he was talking about don't deal with ratchet women from upper classes. He also did a video talking about the upper class women are better. Interesting video, should probably go check them out, especially using the octane scale. And a lot of people use the octane scale as an absolute, and it is not. It is a guide. And you're always going to have variations because guess what? You can't put women or even people into a neat bow. And that's especially true for the black community. The black community really does cross a lot of class lines all the time because they try to push us all into a bunch. Even Valdez was saying that earlier, yesterday I do believe, about being a hood dude in the black community, especially on YouTube, where we cross a lot of class lines and we push each other together. And we all are seen as one big Negro when we actually are not. We never really were. We never really were. We never really were one big Negro. And there is class. There always has been class inside the black community, even though it's never viewed that way. But the thing is, our class lines are a lot more blurred than probably any other community. And that is true with women, especially modern black women. But Ron was talking about never deal with black women in upper classes. And I always say that octane classes are defined by the women in their circle. Who is the people that that woman hangs out with? And that will actually determine more of what class she's in than what her appearance is. Because for a woman to be in like an upper class, then she's got to meet certain metrics. And if she doesn't meet those metrics, they're not going to allow her in her circle. That's why a lot of 92 looking women are probably like 89s and probably even 87s. And then sometimes they're even 85s. And it can get confusing because a lot of the class identifiers that used to be indicative of when I was young, when I was in my 20s, because of the current, I should say, education model, where they're centering on a general way of speaking. It's very difficult by speech, by look, to actually identify class. I know that sounds confusing, so I'm gonna explain it. When I was coming up, you could tell a woman that's from the hood by two things: the way she dressed, how much money she had, and the way she spoke, where she carried herself. It was really easy to tell which class that woman was in. If she was a, what we call, or it was ratchet before if she was a project chick, she spoke a certain way, she walked a certain way, she dressed a certain way. A working class girl, educated, but at 89 and a 92s, you could tell them a mile away. 100 octanes, well, 100 octanes will always be 100 octanes. But since they have basically standardized the way that we're taught, and the teachers that teach us started speaking a standardized way, and since the advent of more television, more computers, more social media, and a broader connection, it's not only with black people, also with the white standard, it's almost impossible to tell just by looking what class that woman's in. It's almost impossible. You get a general idea if she's really ostentatious about her being a hood rat. But a hood rat, if she's in school, she can code switch. If she's educated, she can have the look of a 92 because clothes are not only cheaper and more available, but also our education and our social media can actually get her to look more middle class or even upper middle class. So a lot of times the guys would ask me, okay, why is this girl or this woman that works in our building that might work with engineers or even work with IT, who seems well-spoken and educated, is rolling with this dude that's a thug or a baby boy or a homosexual? Because she has the appearance of a 92. She has an appearance of breeding. She might even socialize with the girls on the job. But when she punches out, that's not who she is, because that's not how she was raised. She might have a look of an AKA with the weave and the makeup and since she has a little money, she can go down and put on the clothes. But she's been imprinted by the dudes in her neighborhood, by the dudes in her surroundings. And on a social, not social, but a interpersonal connection, when she talk about mating, she's not gonna fit with upper middle class dude because she wasn't raised that way. And she's gonna grate his nerves and he's gonna grate hers. So when she gets into her BMW in her parking stall and she drives off the lot in her with her Louis Vuitton purse and her Prada heels, she's gonna go down the highway and she's gonna go across the tracks and she's gonna go get the dude that she's comfortable with. She's gonna get the dude that she's imprinted on. Because just like she can code switch when she's at work, she can also code switch as far as look is concerned. She can actually build up a mask or what we call an agent that looks like she's a 92, but things don't get fooled. That's like when you have to go around a woman's circle, her personal circle, not her work circle, but her personal circle, and see who she associates with. Because you think she's a 92, she's gonna go home and change clothes and be down at the Ratchet Club, and she's gonna be at home watching Love and Hip Hop, and you're gonna see her at home amongst family or some friends, slapping dominoes or playing Bid Whiz, and then she'll clean up the house, clean up herself, put her weave back on, and get herself together and go right back to being that 92 on the job. So that confuses a lot of guys that really don't know women. Hell, sometimes it even confuses women because the women on the job know because they talk. And when women tell stories about their lives, because women do that, women know that, okay, Regina is what they call a 92 climber. And sometimes 92 climbers recede back into their project life because that's what they're comfortable with. It is very hard to actually get away from your social programming. Now, some women do, because you have some people that don't like the hood and never did and never fit in, and they will, once they're out, they will actually project the 92 lifestyle, even the 100 octane lifestyle, because they were never that way. They never fit in anyway. So they actually take to the upper classes like a duck to water. But that is a different video. I think I did that for Rom about a 92 climber, which is another woman to watch out for different reasons. Let me get to the other part about a woman from the middle class or even the upper classes acting ratchet. Really, since I would say since the 90s and the demarcation of the 90s as far as Generation X, a lot of people look to rap and hip hop. Rap and hip hop was an influence, but really the big demarcation was actually the Fab Five for Michigan. I think it was University. Yeah, I think it was the University of Michigan. I don't believe it was Michigan State. University of Michigan, I do believe. The Fab Five. We had 5 college kids coming together that were blue chippers all on one team. And since their coach was very liberal, instead of them taking or staying with the staid uniforms and the staid performance with the clean cut, the tight with the little pants and the tight uniforms, they adopted more of a hip hop style with the baggy shorts, with the tattoos, with the shaved heads. So in other words, they had more of an edgier persona. And once that broke out, you had a lot of people in the NBA that decided to follow the same path, since they were Generation X and they listened to hip hop and they're athletes, and the only reason that they were staying in line is because they were getting paid, and it wasn't acceptable in sports. Sports was a little bit more locked down, a little bit more strict. But once the sports started to loosen up and started adopting hip hop, bringing in hip hop music and allowing the tattoos and allowing the different hairstyles and stuff like that, all of a sudden it started invading the sports. And once it hit black sports, then those guys who were basically the warriors or the top tier alpha males started doing it. Then women and men also started focusing on the edgier personalities as something that was attractive. Now fast forward to now, the thug or the edgy guy or the bad boy has been attractive not only to males, the image, but also the female. And so once the males adopted the edgier lifestyle, so did the females. So now, just like it was cool to be a thug, cool to wear baggy pants, cool to have the tattoos, it also became cool to be ratchet and act up and fight and cuss and all that kind of stuff. So you have middle and upper middle class women that were raised that way, sometimes in the suburbs, thinking that to be cool, to be hip, you had to have an edgy personality, or you had to have some kind of edge to you. And that was seen as attractive, especially to women in some circles, that, you know, the what they call the Clatchet, the classy ratchet. And I saw this because, I'll give you an example. Got a lot of women from Carson. Now Carson, in Carson, California, used to be sort of like an urban suburb, if that makes sense. In the South Bay, basically it is a community that surrounds a university, Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, which is like 40% black. But the thing is, it's like a college town. And right down the street from it is the Carson Mall, which is a very large upscale mall in Los Angeles. Now you marry those two things together, you have a lot of upscale people and upper middle class people that live in that area. You know, you have the big homes, the big 2-story homes. You have the nice curved streets. You got the planned communities that's actually modeled after suburban white communities. And you have a lot of families that worked in the aerospace manufacturing. So you had a lot of people that had a lot of family wealth. So they were raised in a upper middle class lifestyle, in an upper middle class neighborhood. Like Art Newstyle says, it was almost like the Cosby Show. But just like the Cosby Show and Theo, they always wanted to have a little edge to them. They wanted to prove their street cred. So they would always drift down to Compton or Watts and some of the lower class places and mix with some of the lower class kids to actually prove their street cred, even though they weren't. And a lot of women used to do the same thing. They would go hang out with Negroes from Watts that had parts of Ratchet Compton just to get that edge, get that street cred, because they want to, like, say, prove their bones. But the thing is, they never mixed in. And I used to tell a lot of women that I knew that wanted to mix in with chicks of a different class, to mix in with 85s. You have like 89s and 92s that want to mix in with 85s. And they couldn't understand how come they weren't accepted. And I just simply say, you weren't raised that way. Your life experience is not the same, because those particular women who were children came out of struggle and came out of survival. You know, I know that because don't let this articulate demeanor fool you, okay? I came from a working class, just above 85 class family. So I do understand. So, don't let it fool you. Me and Freeway Ricky Ross came from the same neighborhood. Now we moved out of that neighborhood and I was bussed away from those schools, but we came from the same neighborhood. So if you look at Freeway Ricky Ross, basically you looking at the hidden side of me. So I know the difference in class because I've seen them all. And I know when there's middle class kids that were never raised in struggle, trying to be something that they're not. I know my children, even though they wanted that edge, they would try to, and sometimes they even mix in go to the same schools. Is there certain schools where classes actually mix? And my children have gone to schools where the classes actually mix, and you can tell the difference between kids that struggle and kids that don't. And even though my kids, would mix, and they might have a friend or two that are probably from the lower classes, but the thing is, you can tell. They would be with them for a second. They might have one, or they have one, maybe two friends that have edge. But the thing is, at the end of the day, they wouldn't be there. They get into some shit. They go the other way. My son, he might play ball with them, But when it comes to him actually doing the deed and mixing with those kind of dudes, never would happen. There's always an acid test. And for women that try to act that way, try to use that verbiage, try to show their street cred, show their edge, at the end of the day, they're not like that. At the end of the day, you put him in with a bunch of ratchets. Basically, them ratchets are going to chase her right out of the hen house, right out of the coop. Even the ratchets have standards, believe it or not. And the ratchets will tell you, you ain't, like Valdez said, you ain't real. You ain't a real bitch. Go back to where you came from. Be who you really are. And I think that's what black people need to be, more authentic, and stop trying to be all things to all people. You have a very few people that I've met that can cross class lines like that. And they have a very distinct upbringing. I'm probably one of them that have a very distinct upbringing because I was actually brought up in a very rough areas, like where Ricky Ross grew up, and in Watts adjacent and Watts proper. But I was always bused to white schools. And when I was coming up, there was always that fear and conflict that when you cross class lines, when some people's garages are bigger than your whole house. And as Ron will tell you and Kevin will tell you, the code switching is intense. The code switching is intense. Trying to code switch between all 5 different classes is intense. And then when you write race on top of it, sometimes it appears like you have a fractured personality. And the women that can actually code switch like that and move up in classes and actually flow with all 4 or 5 classes are very, very rare. But you got a lot of women that want to pretend because they want to be cool. And then on the other side, you have a lot of women that came from the lower classes that are climbers, that are trying to pretend that there's something that they're not. And those are the 2 women that you have to watch out for, because both kinds of women will actually get you in trouble. I don't know if that made sense. Maybe it will to Rom, maybe it will to Cousin T-Tar. I don't know. But I just want to throw my 2 cents into the hat, into the jar. Rom's out there playing the relationship music, and I heard him strumming, heard him blowing the saxophone. So I say, well, I got a couple of quarters. Let me drop a couple of quarters into the hat and make my contribution. So Field Master, here's my couple of quarters, man. I don't have $1 today, but I'm giving you what I have. With that, I'm gonna jump off here. This is BGS out now.